Hey everybody, welcome to week 4 of the Money and Banking course here. So, got my weekly scenery up here. And what prompted me to get this one was one of my wife's friends just went on a little vacation trip to Arizona. And I guess they went to there's caves down there somewhere in the Grand Canyon. So, and she was sharing some pictures. So these ain't her pictures, but similar pictures. So just thought this was pretty amazing. The imagery in some of those caves there. So there you go, a little bit of that. Um, Let me see. Whoops, I got all my. All right, and then getting on to the inspiration thoughts for the week. One thing, all of you that have the opportunity to go to school, you've been given a gift of sorts. I use these little analogies, but this particular person was an Olympian. Um, and one of his, quotes is to give anything less than your best is sacrifice the gift. If you've been given a gift, an opportunity, if you're not doing your best, not working at it, then, you're sacrificing it. So, which brings me to take your dream seriously. You've decided to go to school. If this applies to you, then you need to take it to heart, not just think, oh, one day a week here and there. And like I say, I use these analogies and stuff, and I know, but I think things like the morning coffee, or if you've got kids, you don't just wait until Sunday to take care of them, or things like that. Same thing with school and pursuing your dreams. So there you go. All right, so let's jump. Let me see. I think I also last week I had a picture of me. Those of you that watched jumping out, getting ready to jump out of an airplane, I said I would do some follow-up pictures on that one. So here's a follow-up picture. That was back in 1988. It was on Guam, the one I showed you last week, and we did at the time what would have been a record altitude jump. So this is us. This guy right here, that's me, and we're doing what they call pre-breathing oxygen. You have to do that for a few hours, depending how high up you're going to jump out of an airplane at. So there's that. And then this is the actual, those of us that jumped. So that time was a world record. It was 37,250 feet. And this guy right here is me. And if you've been in, you may or may not have seen this before in some of these classes. It's kind of hard to keep up with all the pics over all the classes over the several years here. So, but anyway, so there you go. That's the little more history on that. So, all right, so let's jump into course room. All right, so those of you in there in the discussions, real good. No problems there. And if there is an issue, I'll usually address it to you on the feedback. Same thing with the homeworks. Some of you doing real good. Some of you have some problems, and you've been in touch with me. If you're having problems, make sure you get in touch so we can work you through it. Try to help you to understand it. Sometimes there's, in addition to anything I can do, there is tons of YouTube videos out there. If you go into YouTube and just, type in, something, there's usually a lot of instructor type videos in there that are short. Some are long, but some might be only 5 or 10 minutes that kind of breaks down things for you in some of these different courses. So, I mean, just a thought there that might help you get by. We're going into week 4. So the three chapters this week have to do with chapters 10, and then it jumps to 15, 16. Chapter 10 has to do with the economic growth, business cycles. Now, I tell you in most courses, pay attention to definitions and terms and concepts and things like that. One of the things, the grading in the economy is done in quarters. You may hear, if you hear a news spot or something, they talk about, the third quarter, fourth quarter, different things like that, how things are measured. I found a couple of sites that talk about GDP because in this recent political cycle too, there's been a lot of talk about pros and cons on previous versus the new president, different plans and things like that. If there's any way you can try and keep a neutral perspective on things and look at things from a number standpoint or whatever. I know it's hard to do sometimes, but numbers are tricky. Numbers can be false or implied. So this one here, this graph here is like a GDP, gross domestic product. One of the things about the average GDP is supposed to be like over 3% usually, and one of the headlines recently was, the last 10 years it's been under 3%. So from an economic point perspective, that's not a good thing. You add that to a $9 trillion um, debt. I use the payday loan analogy. We got it. The country has a $9 trillion payday loan. At some point, it's just going to catch up, and something drastic is going to have to be done economic-wise with the country to kind of bring that debt back down. So, I mean, there's things like that. On the flip side, unemployment's gone up, things like that. So there's different pluses, but there's also negatives you have to look at. So and that's where maybe none of you are going to become, financial people, but if you do, these are the type of things you have to understand how it all works. Here's another one. Um, if you go in, there's the website if you want to look at it, but it has it year by year, and you can go down and you can see how it trends. Here's a GDP rate. Back in the Depression, you have all these negative signs, and jumped up a little bit. And then during World War II, it jumped up a lot. Then, after the war, there's sudden poof, so it was expectedly would drop a little bit and then start picking up again in the 50s. Jumping up to end of 60s. A couple years there, it dropped down, and then jumps back up again, and down and then up. But the GDP is an indicator of how well a country's doing, economically. So, and here you go. 74, 75 was a bad time. I remember that particular period here because I was a young, and I remember the gas lines and things like that. So, but anyway, so here's just how the numbers go through the years. They stay up there pretty much. Didn't like the word talking about. And here again we're still at the 2. So sometimes when you see these negative headlines, it ain't necessarily accurate. I mean, it's accurate in one way, but not when you start going back and looking at other things. So that's just why I wanted to point that out to you there. So, all right. Let me see. So Chapter 10 had to do with the economic growth. 15 has to do with the Federal Reserve System, and there again that gets into the different way the Federal Reserve System works, the Board of Governors, different things like that, what they do, what's the functions, and so forth. So just pay attention to all those those terminologies and stuff. And then when you get into Chapter 16, it's about the control, how the Fed controls money, and how those things kind of interact. There's different methods and tools used, securities, loans, things like that. So again, lots of information, and it's just getting an understanding of how it all works. All right, upcoming, don't forget to use these flashcard tools that are in here. They're pretty they're pretty good depending on the type of study habits you want. So you get in there, it has a lot of has a lot of the data in there. And then we also have the assignment, like you've been doing every week. So I mean, again, to review questions. So I think most of you are doing pretty good. So no issues there. And like I said, if there is an issue, just get back with me, and we'll go over it. So, all right. So this one's, other than my little going on there about the GDP, that should do it. So I'll let you all go. Except for my test question, I'm going to do something totally different this time. So here's the test question. What is this? So that way I know you watched the video. So, all right. So that'll do it for this week. Any questions, get in touch with me as always, and have a great week. Take care, everybody.